Good morning, guys. My name is Matthew Ashfire. I'm doing the option 2 of creating deviant profile, and the topic that I chose was sugar dating. So, sugar dating generally involves a younger individual interacting with an older individual transactionally, whether that's financially, materially, for luxury stuff. I'll get more into that later. I thought it would be interesting, and as I looked into it, I found that most sugar babies are comprised of college-age students and recent college graduates, which is kind of like, the crowd that we're in. So I wanted to see how that dynamic kind of functioned. And I wanted to look at how perceptions change over time, if at all, especially given like how there was the sexual revolution in like the 1970s or whenever that was, and like casual sex entirely changed like the viewpoint on it, and divorce and everything skyrocketed. I wanted to see if there was anything similar with that for sugar dating. So, but even a sugar daddy, well, a younger person, the sugar baby, is compensated either financially or materially by an older person, which is sugar dad or sugar mom, for emotional or sometimes sexual intimacy. Um, Now, this is considered intimate or considered deviant because intimacy is being blended with an economic exchange, which kind of overlaps with transactional sex and prostitution, which is, as we learned, illegal and, well, in most places, you know what I mean. But since we as a society place specific values on relationships and beliefs and how they should function, like where they both have love and they're both like, oh, I actually like you for you and I'm just want to be with you. Whereas in this case, it's kind of, oh, you have a lot of money, you can pay me, I'll hang out with you. Like, sure. It's not an actual loving relationship, so it's labeled deviant by our social norms. So some of the key findings demographically, almost every study I found showed that sugar babies are young college-aged women facing financial strain, whereas the sugar daddies were older, wealthier men. There weren't a whole lot of studies. I don't know if it's because this is a stigmatized topic, but one study found that there were 5.2% of 1,582 undergrad students had engaged in a sugar relationship at some point. It isn't like a high number, but it's significant enough to look into, I would say. The average sugar baby age is 28, and the average sugar daddy age is 48. I found that in another study. In some of the trends over time, this has always existed, I would say. I couldn't find any literature specifically saying like when sugar dating started. I think it was just kind of when it got labeled. But when the internet was introduced and digitization skyrocketed and everything, like I have the seeking.com on the last slide that it won't let me go back to, but websites like seeking.com and other places like that where you can kind of anonymously interact with people, it's a lot easier to like hide your age and pay people for stuff like that. So sugar baby's motivated, as I said, financial need, desire for luxury. The sugar daddy's motivation is emotional intimacy, sometimes companionship, and sometimes sexual intimacy. Then we analyzing this through Burton's train theory, which, if you don't remember, basically says we have these culturally established goals, and we're supposed to have legit means to achieve them. And the innovators that we've been looking at all year achieve these goals through illegitimate means. So the implication for sugar dating from this is that these young adults are seeking the cultural goal of financial stability, but they're facing student debt, inflation, college loans, bad job market, so they're forced to innovate through sugar dating and basically get paid for relationships. Okay, so implications of sugar dating. So obviously sugar dating reveals underlying economic pressures. and kind of failures in the system to support recent graduates and such. It also unveils the commodification of intimacy that we've seen recently through websites like OnlyFans and stuff like that, in which people are selling and marketing intimacy for their bodies rather than, actually being in relationships and then doing that stuff. Some cultural differences. I found the younger generation was more accepting of transactional intimacy. Someone found that in a study, which I thought was interesting, considering that the older population is the base of sugar daddies. But I guess by and large, older people are probably less accepting than younger. Some policy implications. Dating sites could restrict sugar dating, which I will actually show you in the next slide. And we could address the cost of living and student debt issues. That would relieve the strain, which would prevent people from needing to be innovators. Some future research could look into like the LGBTQ sugar dating community, because I couldn't really find anything on that, and I feel like that might be more motivated by like desire to fit in and like companionship than financial desire, like with I don't want to say normal sugar dating, but normative, if that makes sense. And I could, or future research could also look into more national comparisons. Most of these were kind of US centric. I mean, one of the studies was multiple countries, but we could probably diversify it. Okay, and the first figure you see on the left is just a visual representation of how many people. So 5.2% of 1582, that looks like that's around like 80 people or so, maybe almost 100. That's just a visual representation. And on the right, you can see what I was talking about earlier. When I first opened Seeking.com, this message popped up, and this just shows how they specifically label sugar relationships or sugar dating deviant and like prohibit it on websites like this. So, in conclusion, sugar dating is deviant because it challenges social norms of relationships, not because it's violent or an issue with age like pedophilia or anything. It's almost solely because of like the spin that it puts on relationships. Young adults engage in it due to financial pressures, different strains. Maybe they just want a life of luxury. Older people engage in it for emotional compensation, just someone to hang out with. Sometimes they get lonely, or I guess just the thrill of being with a younger person. So I would like to note, string theory presents this behavior as a rational adaptation, not a moral failure on their part. And sugar dating teaches that deviance isn't limited to harmful acts, but rather to what society itself deems deviant.